Identifying
The king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today we have Nemo for you. I get asked all the time what size is the tin I use. It's actually a baking tin that I use. It's the same size as an A4 sheet of paper, and that helps with the templates. Okay, so you're going to cut your cake in half and then draw out a teardrop shape and use the corners to build up the brow of Nemo's head. Now ignore those little side bits that I've put on because I end up carving them off anyway. Go around the base of the cake and just cut off a little bit so it's rounded, and then carve down the sides of his face and the front of his forehead where his eyes will be. And once you've got it to that basic bubbled out teardrop shape, or a pear shape, whichever you'd like to call it, fill it with buttercream and give it a crumb coat and set it aside. Then you're going to roll out your orange fondant, place it over the top, rubbing down the sides and making sure it adheres to the sides so there's no pull at the top, and then trim off all the excess. Using that excess balled up with a little bit of cornstarch or corn flour, you can smooth out the fondant to get a better result. And using my fingers, I put the indents where his eyes would go, and then I use the tool to even up the edges all the way around the bottom. And then out of all the excess, cut out his fins and his tail. When you do this, you want to make sure your fondant is rolled unevenly, so there's a thin side and a thick side. This will be for it to stand up and it'll make it a lot easier. I had to trim it later on and add that. You will see later in the cake what I mean. Now, I can't give you the correct size of his fins because it all depends on how big you make the body of your cake. So just use your eye to judge how big you need it in relation to your cake. Now, to help attach his tail seamlessly, cut in a Y shape at the back, pull out the flat parts, and then insert the tail and smooth that down. Then don't worry about how neat that looks because you're going to cover it. Now here's where you can see I trimmed the top of the fin to make the base thicker and the top thin. And you just cut the fondant and push it in, and it helps look seamless in the whole attaching of all the fins. Using some white fondant, cut out his eye shapes. Now I did them a little bit big, so I trimmed them while on him. I would suggest cutting out some paper shapes and using them as a template so you can measure them up against the body. Okay, once they're on, we'd let them sit for 5-10 minutes so you know that they're attached very strong. And as I always say, pay close attention to the eyes because the eyes can ruin a cake if you get them wrong. Roll out some white fondant for his stripes on his body. Now you can see here I used the white to cover the join in his tail. These lines are a little bit forgiving. You can make them a bit thicker or a bit thinner to hide any imperfections or mistakes you have, because I know I did. Okay, so using a bit of water, just attach them on. Once again, just judge the lines by your eye and the size of your cake. Use a little bit of the trim off for his teeth. And I just stuck that on, as you can see. Now, starting on his eyes again, I used some gel food dye to paint on where I'd like his eyes to go, then made them in orange fondant. And used a little bit of the gel to highlight his eye, and then a little bit of black and orange to give it a darker bottom. These are only very light accents in his eye because I didn't want to go too full on. And then the black is just the normal gel food dye. Now to make his eyes really pop, put in a little ball of fondant as a light reflection at the top, and then you can start painting his mouth. To really make this cake come alive, you're going to use some diluted food coloring to paint in shadows and highlights and stuff like that all around his body. You can see I did the thing of his lip, his eyebrows and his fins. The amount of detail you spend on this is up to you. Don't forget to paint in the black borders around his fins, and you're going to trace over the outline of the white. Now I had a little bit of trouble with this because I kept bumping it on the white. I was trying to line it but not actually draw on it. If I made this cake again, I would probably use a bigger brush with a softer bristle. Let me know if you try it. Okay, so once you go over your cake, you want to line the fronts and the back of each stripe. And don't forget, as you can see here, the tail. I forgot to put in the orange lines on his tail, and I noticed that I didn't do the backs of his fins either. Now, a cake like this, people are going to go and look all the way around it. They're not just going to look from one angle. So you want to make sure you've got every little detail pulled in nicely. Stick with it, be patient, spend a little bit more time than I did on them. I am in the race of the camera and battery power. So I hope you guys liked Nemo. Thanks so much for watching. I have a new video every Friday. Subscribe if you're not already, and drop a comment, let me know what cake you'd like to see. I don't promise I'll do them all, but I'll try. Thanks, guys.